Hello, I'm Matt Weingart, County Auditor of Val Verde County, and you're listening to Texas County Voice, a podcast for all 254 counties. Thank you for listening.
Hello and welcome to Texas County Voice. I'm Lisa Oval with the Texas Association of Counties. TAC recently hosted more than 220 county officials and IT professionals during the 2024 County Technology Conference in Georgetown. My colleague Louis Lejeune and I caught up with Jackson County Judge Jill Sklar, who talked about using TAC's County Information Resources Agency, or CIRA, which offers website and email services. She also gets into the cyber attack that hit her county in 2019. Hear more about it and what the county learned from that hard lesson.
I'm Jill Sklar, Jackson County Judge, and I am the chairman of the CIRA board.
Can you talk about which CIRA services your county uses and why?
We use the website, CIRA Services. We're a rural county. We don't have a lot of resources, and we find that CIRA is a platform for a website. It's phenomenal, and it works great for our county. It's very user-friendly, and it allows those folks that don't have a lot of background as far as technology goes to be able to maneuver through it, and it's worked really well for us.
What brought you to the conference today, and what are you hoping to get out of it?
There's so much still to learn. We have a third-party provider that we utilize in Jackson County as far as our IT services and cybersecurity services. And so I come here looking for ideas to take back and ask those questions to make sure we are doing what it takes. Sometimes those providers don't work a whole lot in the county government sphere, and I think we're very unique in government as to some of the things we can and cannot do. And I think it's important to ask those questions of your provider just to make sure you are covered.
Mm-hmm. Are there any particular topics that you're interested in learning about today?
All of them, but I will say that the artificial intelligence that we've already heard about, I think that's what we're going to be talking about in weeks, years to come. I think it's huge. I think it's scary in some aspects, but I think it also provides a lot of opportunity for local governments to do things more efficiently.
Have you explored any of them yet?
I'm a little scared to still.
Haven't hopped on ChatGPT yet?
I did have to. I was working on an emblem for a new organization that we created back in Jackson County. I put in there, what are the things that I want it to kind of represent? And lo and behold, it kicked back something that was like, oh, well, this is a pretty neat concept to start. So yeah, I've played with it a little bit, and it's been kind of successful.
What value does CIRA provide to you personally, your office, or your county?
One thing with CIRA is that you are, at least for the board, with me personally, I have fellow elected officials that serve in different roles that I think it's really important that we can kick our ideas back and forth and know how technology affects that one elected official's role in county government, because we don't always understand the other hats that people are wearing. And when you're able to talk about those things, it really helps us as a county work together and use our technology in a better way. And I think it's really important we keep those conversations going.
Are there things that you're keeping an eye on in terms of technology?
Of course. So in 2019, I kind of got thrown into the technology sphere of county government, and because we had a cyber attack and we were held ransom. I learned very quickly that county governments often lag behind, and that's what was so hard about the cyber attack, is that the people couldn't understand. The reason why we were so vulnerable is because we had lagged behind for so long in keeping up with technology. And the commissioners didn't want to spend that new money on a new server because they had just bought the server 10 years ago, and a maintainer lasts 25 years. So why would a server not last 25 years? And so getting them to really upgrade and spend a lot of money on the system was hard, because you can't see it. You can't show your neighbor, who's your constituent, well, look what this great thing is that we used your taxpayer dollars.
Well, how do you think that counties that don't encounter a cyber attack could do that?
I ended up, I got sworn in January. Within a month, 6 weeks, I had IT going, we got to do this, we got to do this. And I was like, oh my gosh, why haven't y'all been doing all this? This is a lot of money you want me to now spend now. And I hear all the commissioners in the mayor going, we're not spending money on that. And so I knew those battles were coming next budget. I knew as growing up, I did have email when I graduated from high school. So I have a little bit more, life experience with that kind of technology. We got help from the state to come in. We rebuilt our entire system with Texas Military Department, who had folks that actually worked in cybersecurity in the military, that on their days off they were in the reserves. So they would practice these incident responses. They brought all that expertise to us, and they were like, well, you got to buy this, this, and this. So you would just look at my commissioners and say, it's the military. They're telling you this is what we need. I mean, you can't tell them no. You can't argue with them. I mean, do you want to make sure this doesn't happen again? They were like, yeah, okay, I guess we've got to do it. They did determine that whoever the threat actor came in through our dispatch system and was in there for a very long time. And it went to our district attorney's office, which that's huge. It went to some of our county clerks.
A lot of legals.
Yes. And they never, that was always the concerns. Oh, they took confidential information and they were holding all that confidential information. Use it. They didn't. What they did was they pulled the information and then they just encrypted the files. And then how it was explained to me is like, you have all of your paper files. I mean, this is how basic I had to get. You have all your paper files, and they just went in there and they cut the labels off every single file and threw it all out there. So all of our information was there, but there was no way to put it in a format that anyone could ever access it.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
It was just a mess that way. And what happened was, of course, they wanted $360,000, which that's a big chunk of money for us back then. FBI didn't want us to pay it. The law enforcement of any sort didn't want us to pay it, because all it does is perpetuate that kind of activity. But they did say if you do pay it, you're almost guaranteed to get it back. That just doesn't mean they won't do it to you again. The city of Baltimore had just had the same thing happen to them. There were a lot of ransomware attacks that happened around the same time ours happened.
During the tech conference, the Texas Department of Information Resources presented information about the government's hit with this ransomware. Judge Sklar references this session here.
And then in August, and you heard him say the 23 governments in August of 19, that was right after our event. And that's where they took our incident response from the state, and then they used that to respond to the 23 counties. Ours was kind of the blueprint, because ours was like the first county that it happened. We were probably about 5 weeks into it, kept saying, we're not going to do it, we're not going to do it. And our IT guys, who are no longer our IT guys, they were working in one of our closets, and they looked up on the shelf, and there was a backup that they had ran a year ago that they had forgotten. They had switched over a system, and they ran a complete backup. It was actually 9 months prior to it. So we had only really lost 9 months of information instead of 30 years of information. They plugged that in there, and we got to rocking and rolling again.
To be clear, none of Jackson County's confidential data was released, but the county did learn some good lessons from the incident.
When we had our cybersecurity attack, I did have some officials who were kind of like, great, I get to go back to my chief tablet and my pen and paper, and this is going to be great. But we became so inefficient during those 6 weeks that we were down. Stuff was not moving to the process like it needed to, and it's because we have now relied on computers to do so much for us. And that's only going to be enhanced with AI as we move forward. And I think the next generation is going to look back going, how did those elected officials ever operate without AI? And I think it's going to be good because, again, county government has limited resources. We only can spend what our taxpayers give us, which is sometimes not very much. And I think we will become more efficient as we leverage that technology. Once we got the system rebuilt and there was all of those stopgaps put into place, there was a huge learning curve with our employees. But all I would have to say is, remember how horrible those 6 weeks were. Do we want to do that again? And people would be like, oh, okay, well, we don't want to do that again. It's meeting. And then I had all these judges growing up going, oh my gosh, I can't believe that happened to you. What do we need to do? At least, I said, you know what you need to do? You need to go back to your IT professionals, and you need to listen to what they say and buy whatever they say and do whatever they say, because they're not just trying to make their job easy. They're trying to protect you. I just wanted to give those IT professionals a voice. They needed a voice in commissioner's court, because a lot of times commissioners, they just, oh, we don't need that. I need a piece of equipment. We don't need a server. We don't need a firewall. We don't need, whatever it is. When we talk about resources and what you need to really beef up your system, from that point forward, I've been very interested in making sure that it does not happen again. Being on the CIRA board, I understand that the counties need some guidance and advice, and the fact that we can leverage CIRA to help advise us in those aspects, I think is extremely important, especially rural counties who just don't have those folks on their staff to be able to help them.
So how did you get onto the CIRA board?
After I went through my challenging times in 2019 and recovered with the help of DIR, the Texas Military Department, it took a lot to come back and get us going again. CIRA reached out to me and said, well, you've been through this and you have some real life experience. And I think that they just asked for me to come in and kind of help steer the conversation as to what counties really need.
Is there anything else that you would like to add about the conference?
I would just encourage any elected official to come to this conference. I do believe that technology is one of those things that a lot of us that's not our wheelhouse. We don't need to worry about it. We'll let somebody else worry about it, but it does affect you. And the things that you do could have a huge impact on your county if you are not included in those conversations. Things could go a lot better for you as an elected official, or they could get really bad for you if you're not part of that conversation. So I just encourage everyone to come with an open mind and understand that the times are changing and we all need to get on board and be a part of that conversation.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Texas County Voice, and a big thanks to Judge Sklar for those insights about cybersecurity. Don't forget that the deadline to report compliance with state requirements for cybersecurity training is August 31st. And if you'd like to take tax DIR certified training, be sure to enroll by July 31st. You can learn more at county.org/cybersecurity. And save the date for Tax Next Technology Conference, which returns to Georgetown May 20th through 23rd, 2025. Till next time.